In 2014, satellite images revealed something impossible. Tiny coral reefs in the South China Sea, some barely visible above water, were growing. Not naturally. China was pumping millions of tons of sand onto submerged reefs, turning them into artificial islands. In just 3 years, they created 3,200 acres of new land in the middle of the ocean. And then they put military bases on them, runways, missile systems, radar stations, right in the middle of one of the most disputed waterways on Earth. And they're doing it again, right now in 2026. To understand why China is building islands in the middle of the ocean, you need to understand what flows through the water beneath them. The South China Sea is the most important waterway in the world. 1/3 of all global maritime trade passes through it. More than $5 trillion worth of goods every year. Oil from the Middle East, electronics from China, food from Southeast Asia. More tanker traffic than the Suez Canal and Panama Canal combined. It's also believed to contain 11 billion barrels of untapped oil and 190 trillion cubic feet of natural gas beneath the seabed. And it's home to 10% of the world's fisheries, a food source for hundreds of millions of people across Asia. China claims sovereignty over approximately 80% of the South China Sea, a claim outlined by the so-called 9-dash line, drawn on Chinese maps since the 1940s. This claim overlaps with the territorial waters of Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan. All of them disputed. In 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague ruled that China's 9-dash line had no legal basis. China's response? They called the ruling a piece of waste paper and continued building. China's island building technique is as simple as it is destructive. It's called dredging. Massive cutter suction dredging vessels, some the size of aircraft carriers, anchor near a submerged reef. They extend a cutter head to the seabed, which chews through coral, sand, and rock. The material is sucked up through pipes and sprayed onto the reef surface. Layer by layer, the reef rises above the waterline. Within months, what was once a coral formation barely visible at low tide becomes a flat island several meters above sea level. Workers arrive with cement, steel, and construction equipment. Within a year, the island has buildings. Within 2 years, it has a runway. Within 3 years, it has weapon systems. China's dredging fleet is the most powerful in the world. The Tianjinghao, one of their largest vessels, can dredge 6,000 cubic meters of material per hour. It could fill an Olympic swimming pool every 25 minutes. The environmental cost is catastrophic. The dredging destroys coral reefs that took thousands of years to grow. Marine biologists estimate that China's island building has destroyed over 160 square kilometers of coral reef, an ecosystem that supports millions of species and protects coastlines from storm surges. But for China, the strategic value outweighs the ecological cost. These aren't islands, they're unsinkable aircraft carriers. China built 7 artificial islands in the Spratly Islands between 2013 and 2016. Each one serves a specific military purpose. Fiery Cross Reef is the crown jewel, a 2,700-meter runway, long enough for any military aircraft in China's arsenal. Hangars, radar systems, anti-aircraft batteries, barracks, a harbor deep enough for warships. It's a fully operational air and naval base, 1,000 kilometers from the Chinese mainland, sitting on what used to be a reef barely above water. Mischief Reef is almost identical. Another full-length runway, another harbor, another set of weapon systems. Together with Fiery Cross, they create overlapping fields of radar coverage and anti-access zones that cover most of the South China Sea. Subi Reef completes the triangle. 3 bases, each capable of operating military aircraft, each armed, each positioned to control access to the waterway below. The remaining 4, Quarteron Reef, McGavin Reefs, Hughes Reef, and Johnson Reef are smaller but serve as surveillance posts and communications relays. Together, the 7 islands form a network that gives China intelligence coverage over virtually the entire South China Sea. US Admiral Harry Harris named it the Great Wall of Sand. The analogy is accurate. It's a defensive barrier built to control territory. Except this one is built on water. For nearly a decade after 2016, China's island building appeared to pause. Analysts thought international pressure had worked. They were wrong. In October 2025, satellite images revealed that China had begun massive dredging at Antelope Reef in the Paracel Islands, 400 kilometers from Vietnam. By March 2026, the reef had been transformed into an island covering 600 hectares, roughly 6 square kilometers. That makes it potentially the largest artificial island China has ever built, larger than Mischief Reef. Analysts from the Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative reported that Antelope Reef could now support a 2,700-meter runway, missile facilities, and surveillance infrastructure. Its position is strategically significant. It's closer to mainland China than the Spratly Islands, making it more useful in a potential Taiwan conflict. And China isn't the only one building. Vietnam has dramatically accelerated its own reclamation work, dredging approximately 13.4 square kilometers of coral reef since 2022 across 21 features in the Spratlys. Experts call it a Pandora's box. Once one country starts building, everyone follows. The South China Sea is now the site of the most intense military construction race since the Cold War. And the tool isn't bombs or missiles, it's sand. The United States has made the South China Sea a priority, at least in words. Since 2015, the US Navy has conducted regular freedom of navigation operations, sending warships deliberately close to the artificial islands to demonstrate that it doesn't recognize China's territorial claims. Every few months, a US destroyer sails within 12 nautical miles of Fiery Cross Reef or Mischief Reef. China responds with radio warnings and sometimes by scrambling fighter jets. But these operations are symbolic. They don't stop construction, they don't remove weapons, and they don't reverse the fact that China now has permanent fortified military positions across the South China Sea. In early 2026, US reconnaissance flights over the South China Sea dropped by 30%, coinciding with America's focus on the Middle East. Some analysts see this as a window of opportunity for China to accelerate its building program, and the timing of the Antelope Reef expansion supports that theory. The fundamental problem is clear. The US challenges China's claims, but it doesn't challenge China's construction. And once an island exists, once there's a runway and a radar station and a missile battery, it's not going to be unbuilt. The islands are facts on the ground, or rather, facts on the water, and facts don't negotiate. China's artificial islands represent a new kind of power, not the power to destroy, the power to control. By placing military bases across the South China Sea, China can monitor every ship, every submarine, every aircraft that enters the region. Its radar coverage is now nearly complete. Its anti-ship missile range overlaps with major shipping lanes, and its airstrips can deploy fighter jets to any disputed area within minutes. For the Philippines, this is an existential threat. Filipino fishermen have been blocked from traditional fishing grounds by Chinese Coast Guard vessels. In 2024, Chinese ships used water cannons against Philippine supply boats near Second Thomas Shoal. Confrontations have become routine. For Vietnam, it's a territorial crisis. Islands that Vietnam claims as its own are being built up by China and are now military installations. For the global economy, it's a vulnerability. If China ever chose to restrict shipping through the South China Sea, the way it restricted rare earth exports in the past, the economic impact would be measured in trillions. And for the environment, it's a disaster. Thousands of years of coral reef growth, destroyed in months for military bases that may never fire a shot. The South China Sea was once one of the most biodiverse marine environments on Earth. Now, large sections of it are construction sites. China's artificial islands teach an uncomfortable lesson about the modern world. International law said these islands were illegal. The world's highest court agreed. The most powerful navy on Earth challenged them. Environmental organizations condemned them. Media documented every acre, and none of it mattered. The islands exist, the bases are armed, the runways are operational, and every year, China builds more. Sometimes, the most dangerous construction project isn't the one that fails. It's the one that succeeds. Sand, coral, and a plan to control the most important waterway on Earth. If you want to understand the engineering that shapes our world, subscribe. And watch this next. One country built a dam so big it almost started a war.